Welcome to the eCommerce Expert Podcast, where we get up close and personal with the superheroes of e-commerce, getting them to reveal their most profitable tactics and strategies to help you level up your e-commerce game. So fasten your seatbelt and get ready for an info-packed ride with your host, e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing OG, Derek Gale.
Welcome to another episode of the eCommerce Expert Podcast. In this episode, we're going to dive into Amazon, private label businesses, and today's guest has been launching, operating, and growing private label businesses, e-com businesses on Amazon for the last 9+ years. And today, he and his clients have sold north of $100 million in physical products, primarily through Amazon FBA sales channel. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Neil Twa to our show. Neil, thanks for being here.
Thanks, my man. I'm honored to be here.
How long has it been since we did an episode for my last podcast? Like four years? 5 years?
A while. Time flies in the world, doesn't it?
Dude, doesn't it? Doesn't it? It really does. Amazing. So, you know what I always like to start off with is kind of your origin story, right? Like
Sure.
Where'd you come from? How did you get to be the Amazon dude doing all this stuff and helping people and growing your businesses?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it short and succinct and not too boring. I know people tend to want to ramble on about themselves. I'm not as interested in talking about myself as I can the business we're going to talk about maybe next. But in simple terms, I've enjoyed the internet since it came online. I got to play with it and get the first machines and play with the dip switches and then get into gaming and thought that was really cool. And went to college on a music scholarship and realized I was going to die a slow, painful death in that. So I switched to business and then the internet came out and I said, hey man, that's where I want to go. But academia was not in on that yet because we were still just installing Windows machines, right? Yeah. And then Windows 95 came around. I was like, woo, interface and graphical and wow, this is so powerful. And like you guys don't have any idea what you're doing. So dropped out of college to go into the corporate world where money was being spent insanely fast. Taught myself some developing and development. Didn't really know that. Taught myself HTML and ASP active server pages and database connectivity. And that sounds like such an easy thing today for the way we do with the world, but that was a big deal back then.
Oh, huge.
And it was huge. And so I got my break when I had a job call application. I was on a contract with Sprint long distance and the PCS division came online and they said, hey, we need 4,000 or 5,000 people to roll up this new mobile network division we're calling PCS. I'm like, okay, I went in on that. So I applied and it was like they were hiring warm bodies. I got to tell you what, I was a total opportunity, right place, right time, moment. So I got to be a part of one of the first mobile launches. And I was tasked with overseeing all the knowledge management information around the support of that launch into a technical system that led to a big knowledge management AI system, by the way, because everybody thinks that's like really cool. It was like 20 years ago, right? And so we were running those systems and did really great at that. Project grew, business grew, mobile divisions went through the roof. I was like the 5,000th employee and 80,000 when I left. I got picked up by IBM. And so I spent through almost 4 or 5 years, roughly, time flies, building systems, knowledge management, and systems of business for large corporations, high-tech, media, mobile, and customer support in the mobile space. And then left to start my own companies in 2007 and never looked back. So a series of management consulting companies. Management consulting for businesses is what I've done. It's where I've been. And so we do the same thing in terms of business and management that we did then. We just sort of changed the channel just a little bit. Mobile marketing, got really big into that because I was doing it for lead gen for my management consulting and then realized I could do all kinds of products and stuff. It was a little bit of an unlock the empire kind of, key to the kingdom thing. I'm like, man, if I can learn how to do this, I could sell all kinds of stuff. So I started selling mobile internet, downloads, dating apps and stuff like that all across. Had some things in the international space that took off like really fast. That led me to the realization I should be creating a brand. Like I'm going to go from a self-employed to a business owner. I really need to create a brand. I need to build something. And in the process of that, somebody introduced me to Amazon. Said, hey man, you got to check this out. They just hired or bought this company. Was called FBA. I don't remember what the original company was called, but they bought a transport and logistics company and rebranded it as FBA and brought it in so they could get last mile to the customer. And since I wasn't into employees, I had contractors that were out in the field. I had 10 management consultants working, and I really wasn't into building storage facilities and warehousing and all this other stuff. I ended up getting some of that later on. That's another story. But long story short, I'm like, I really want to stay focused on the business and marketing. That's where I've been good at. And he's like, you got to check out Amazon because they're doing all that now for you. And I'm like, well, that's pretty easy. Like focus on the business, focus on the marketing, start building products, and then start to, figure out the system. So by 2012, I'd launched my first brand. I kind of got started in 2011. Met another gentleman who was on the same journey, said, hey, dude, you were like the operational CFO management side of my brain. You are in the disc profile, the S&C, the stable and conscientious person. That's not me. I'm more like that dominant influencer, go, 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 do, and I don't have like the terribly great follow through. And so he's like, well, I don't do any of that. And I'm like, great, let's partner up. And so we started our first brand in 2012, and then Amazon was just a game changer for us because it was just access to traffic that wanted to buy. And once I realized I didn't need to do what I was doing, which was trying to convince people about the product audience conversation side of the house, on the direct to consumer side, I'm like, well, let me just go to the side where they're already ready to push the button and figure out how to just make them push the button faster. And so we figured that out and kind of started to unlock Amazon as a traffic source because that's what it is. It's a traffic source of 100+ million buyers who want to buy stuff. And Bezos was like, buy everything in 30 seconds or less. And I'm like, okay, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
And so we just spent our time focusing on that, right? Failing up, failing down, failing across, getting some really great successes. And, it's 2023 and we've been doing it since 2012. So I stayed hedged into this. I didn't go off into crypto and didn't go off and do all these other things and whatnot, and have just kind of stayed focused on the management consulting side of this house, as well as building our own brands and businesses alongside and developing software to support that and processes and SOPs and, being a business. How do we launch, grow, and now acquire as well as exit these companies? So we kind of go full end to end on these brands now.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah. So, so you're well over a decade just solely Amazon.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And do you do anything off Amazon, or are your brands just pure Amazon brands?
It's about 80% pure Amazon and about 20% other. There are additional channels we can now open up faster, like retail, which can be great if you prove it on Amazon. You can pretty much prove it in retail. It's a very different beast of its own kind.
And when you say retail, you're talking traditional
straight up retail, which still is a majority of the purchasing. We don't live in that brain power, but it is the majority, right? 70% of the sales or so, 60% or so, right? It's quite a bit. Yeah. Still purchase outside of those mechanisms. However, 20 million new people, I don't know if you saw this, it was a recent update by Market Pulse. It said basically 20 million new people bought something online for the first time in the fourth quarter of 2022, which was a new record. Wow. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, that's an impressive adoption change. To what's coming next. And especially for Amazon and all the mechanisms we deployed there, because it was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool bump post COVID, which you and I talked a little bit about. Everybody saw that 40% bump in e-com for the COVID, and then some people saw the 40% drop. Some people saw like a 60% drop after COVID. We kind of leveled off with about a 15-20% gain after that flux, and which is kind of normalized really for post sales. But we do off Amazon sales, so we could see the impact of that a little differently. And we even have a division, a solar trailer division that's not even e-com focused. It actually deploys 5 kilowatt power stations on demand on a trailer that can be hauled out into the middle of nowhere. And so you like plug that in, open up the solar panels, and bam, you got 5 kilowatts of on demand anywhere. It'll power a small house or a medium sized building, or you can daisy chain them together. So we have another business outside e-com as well that we take advantage of.
God, so you got your finger in a lot of pies.
I got my finger in a few things. Diversifying, right? Yeah. If you're not diversifying from the banks right now, you're probably not paying attention. To things of that nature.
for sure. So okay, so you just talking there sparked a bunch of questions, but let's start. Sure. Let's just start with here we are post. Let's call it post-COVID. The world's opened back up, which really was kind of last summer, I think. I think the last half of last year is when restrictions just kind of disappeared, right?
Yeah, mass mandates are even just falling off right now. Some locations.
And people are coming, even the most concerned people are kind of coming back out into the wild. What have you seen on Amazon? How has that changed things? Give me a state of the nation on Amazon.
Amazon definitely got affected by that new 20 million people. No doubt about it, because we've seen sales grow quite tremendously even in this market. Everybody wants to know what's the recession-proof model to be in. Where's the safest place to put your money? What do I do? And if the bank collapse and blah 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 blah. It's not fear-mongering in the marketplace, but the Amazon side of the house right now, part of our business is very backed by a much larger corporation that can flex quite a bit more than an individual or small business can. So as long as you're running profitable and your margins are strong in the market and you're not running razor thin right now, I think e-com is really a recession-proof business model. If you look at any other models in history that have mostly sort of recession growth-proof, and why I'm going to answer your question in this direction if I can, is that typically you're going to see like real estate or high, service businesses required, like funeral homes, and electrical and plumbing are going to be pretty much keep on going because everybody needs those services. And most people don't know how to do it unless they go to YouTube. And people got to buy products. They need products even if the price points go up. Yeah, we complain to a certain degree, but when you need it, you need it. If you want it, you're really going to go ahead and get it for the purpose of emotional connectivity and whatever the outcome is that you're trying to solve. And so that way I see, e-com is a pretty good recession-proof business. But for Amazon, because it's so large and it can shift so much in the market, it doesn't have certain vulnerabilities that we have as solopreneurs. And so by leveraging them as a system, we get some access to that maybe smaller mom and pop shops or single channel pops on DTC and stuff are going to face a much more difficult time if they don't omni-channel. So that's one of the biggest things that I talk about is omni-channel, because everyone's like, well, you're Amazon FBA. It's like, well, no, I'm actually omni-channel too. I just choose FBA first as the playground to go to market because of the mechanisms, the buyer traffic, and where people are wanting to buy and how they're wanting to buy. And because I've unlocked the system of traffic and opportunity that's in it, and I know how to gain those buyers. And with those three things, I can take in almost anything to market. And I don't have a what the hell do I sell problem. I have a scalability problem usually. So it usually gets down to making sure we have cash flow and operations to make scale, which is a different problem than other people might have when they're thinking, well, what do I sell? So, e-com is a market. Amazon's growth market is huge. Just the whole market too is big. Amazon's falling into that, but they projected 800 billion. If Market Pulse data, you can correct me on this, please, but I believe it was about 800 billion in projections for United States sales by end of 2022. Yeah. And then in 2023, it ended up being over $1 trillion in sales, which they didn't believe was going to happen until 2024. And that, I'm pretty sure, was the Department of Research, Commerce, and Forrester Research output here recently that basically said, we broke the 2024 record. We were supposed to not get there until the end of 2024, and that happened in 2023. So a lot of major changes post-COVID have really pushed people forward. And they know Amazon to a degree. They trust, they leverage it. They can push the button. They know how to do the returns. There's just a little bit more safety they feel in risk markets to buy to Amazon. And the last part of your question, so I don't trail on too far with this, is that most people don't understand how many people come through a DTC channel and end up on Amazon now. The overflow is relatively large.
So and so it's interesting. You and I come at this from a different perspective. You start on Amazon, you build your brands there. I start off Amazon. I build my brands off Amazon. And for me, Amazon, because I agree, you've got to be omni-channel this day, right? And what I've learned is you have to have a presence on Amazon to capture the people that'll only buy from Amazon. And it's fascinating how much, I just started a campaign on Facebook for a new men's fitness line called Prime Gen X. And the majority of our sales, even though we're linking to the page, a large majority of the actual sales are coming from our Amazon store.
Isn't that interesting?
People coming and typing in the brand search and where are they coming from? It's our Facebook campaign, right?
Yeah. They're trusting, they're verifying.
Yeah.
And then they're deciding whether or not they buy yours or someone else's. And I call it found money on Amazon for DTC owners because they don't understand if they're running 10 to 50,000 a month in paid spend, they're going to see anywhere between 10 to 12% of that end up on Amazon.
100%. Yeah.
Buying someone else's product if it's not yours, if you're not forward, front, and center, and they can't see you and validate you. I analogize that you're not too different than me in age, I don't believe, but we're roughly the same time as when it went from business to brochureware. And if you weren't there and you didn't have a yellow pages, you weren't legitimate. And very quickly, yellow pages jumped to the, can I find your website to see if you're legitimate? In the e-com world, we made that jump years ago. People have just missed it to some degree. That having an Amazon presence, it creates that yellow book, brochure website legitimacy of 100%. Your DTC brand. Yeah. And if you're not capturing it, they are buying somebody else's product, which you spent in your funnel to acquire on your Facebook ad, who went to Amazon and bought somebody else's. Like, good luck with that. You can't make a business profitable doing that. So if you're above 50 to 100,000 in spend per month on DTC traffic, retail or inbound traffic of another kind, or social or organic, you're going to see up to 18% of that traffic overflow to Amazon.
100%. So 100%. Now, here's my beef with Amazon and why it's never my primary channel. Yep. And that's because I'm a LTV guy, right? Like if I'm going to go out there, particularly in competitive niches, I compete in the health space, right? So I have to go out and lose money to acquire customers effectively, right? Yep. And then I make it up on the long term. But Amazon doesn't give me that. They keep the customer and I don't have that ability. So I keep it to capture the people that only buy from Amazon, right? So I still keep them. but I lose that. So what's your mindset? Like, how do you do this? What's your approach?
Well, first off, I have to break your narrative just a little bit.
Okay, break it.
Not to be not to be contradictory.
No, do it. Contradict.
Well, okay. So I know that that's a little bit of the same narrative I hear quite often.
Yeah.
When
Fair.
you actually get into the details and you've been in this long enough, what you recognize is, they're Amazon's customer, but there's other benefits to me.
Okay.
So how do I gain that customer's trust and approval within Amazon's system and stay within the terms of service, but still get access to that customer? Well, there's a number of ways you can actually do it. So that Amazon's customers will come to us for a number of variation reasons we can give them as incentives that are within the terms of service, and then capture their information from them directly.
So let's go down that rabbit hole, because
there's a couple
terms
points
of service and how you capture it, right? Because again, yes, we have QR codes, we have there's the warranties, there's the all sorts of stuff that you do to capture. What works for you?
Email. I know everybody's like, they want some magical button in the sand, and they're like, well, it must be social reels, or it must be this really fancy retargeting.
When you say email, I mean, you're capturing the email, right?
Yeah. We use a couple of systems that go in and basically cross-reference the data from the customer and go against multiple sources on the internet and validate that data, and then pull back up to 60% of that customer data to us. At which point we can then connect with them and say, hey, thank you so much for your purchase. They don't really know the difference. We're the company you bought it from. There's a number of ways to follow up with them, where we're within the terms of service by asking them, would you like us to connect with you? We don't force, and you don't take. And that's the two things that get broken in this narrative, is everyone thinks you need to force or break or take from Amazon. You do that and you'll get shut down or suspended. Okay.
Right.
If you're getting it from the customer, yes, QRs and other ways and follow-ups to get them to come to you, or cross-reference data across the internet, then you can do that. But again, you have to get into the details of why we would do that. Now, for us, you mentioned LTV or CLTV, customer lifetime value. We do track that. We have to track that as a business and an e-com. And Amazon sellers who don't track that are going to be desperately in problems with profit down the road.
Yeah.
Number one, not having enough profit up front. Number two, not watching your traffic, your subscribe and save opportunities for that business and revenues to the 24, 36 months out. And not also understanding that Amazon's own metric of tracking is the prime buyers, okay? The ones that, will buy on Amazon because they're loyal to that channel, but they also spend money every year to be loyal to that channel. So there's another reason why. Yeah. And Amazon says that's an average of $1,000 a year per person. So I know that in 12 months, my value of a customer for Amazon's acquisition should be up to 12 months CLTV of $1,000.
Right.
So back the numbers backwards. It's always by the numbers. How do I get profitability and product sales or multi-product sales through bundles, variations, and other methods that equate to a first touch customer spending up to $1,000 with my Amazon brand in 12 months. So when I do that, I then change the methodology and approach to Amazon. I don't go in with one hit wonder products. I don't go in with Me Too products. I build a brand where products come in with a specific profitability index and goal of net profit to acquire them through PPC channel inside Amazon and through organic ranking, because I can gain both of those, which I cannot gain anywhere else on the internet.
Yeah.
And then go after a same page strategy as you do on the other side, but I'm going after a warm buyer intent on buying who's there to buy, and I'm simply getting them an invite to check my product out for the right reasons, right solution, right output, and therefore I can make my first product profitable. And the next step is Amazon's crazy marketing machine goes to work when you do it right next, including prime emailings and follow-ups and retargeting. And I've got people calling me and saying, hey, I saw my product on ESPN. I didn't put it there.
Right.
Amazon did. So they'll do a whole lot of back-end marketing for you because they want the same thing you do. They want that $1,000 Prime member in 12 months. So they're working in, combined with me. So I see it differently. I don't see it as a negative. I see it as a positive. Yes, I have to give up some things to gain that. But you and the direct consumer markets are also giving up some things to gain that as well.
Sure.
In turn, the value of the customer data, make no mistake, when we go to purchase companies, the first thing I'm asking is how many customer data points do you have, as well as what are your omni channels, right? Because I'm not buying just an Amazon only FBA business. I'm buying a business that has, up to 10 or 15% of its other channels coming off Amazon. Because then I know I can take them and exploit them and do the DTC stuff. Yeah. And then they've already opened those additional channels. They can't just be a single, horse, right?
So I think you just answered a question, or you did for me, which totally, as you said, kind of changes the narrative, is your ability to cross-reference the customer data and get an email address.
Email, phone number, direct messaging, other stuff that they've entered onto the web.
And so you're strong.
Sorry.
You're just using data companies that hold the data, and is this something that happens automatically? Like you've got
There's a system we use called Post Purchase Pro. I'll give a shout out to those guys.
Post Purchase
Seth
Pro.
and Sean have built a great system. That we refer our clients directly to them and work with them on a one-on-one basis to help them enhance their end. So if they're doing, a few 100,000 a year, or they're doing 100,000 a month, or they're doing 10 million a year, we can always add on additional data points of tracking metrics, CLTV, follow-up, email marketing, and other direct consumer things that they're not.
Yeah.
And the fastest way to make a direct to consumer, this is your area, but I know, is to get your follow-up process in line after first click acquisition on your, you got to get email, SMS follow-up. You got to be strong. Even your direct mail and your marketing and your, sending your customers things and doing follow-ups is important on that side. But wouldn't it be great to have quite a bit of that data before I even open the DTC channel? Wouldn't it be great to know I have an email, customer data, a list, a market, a segment, a price point, brand affinity and validation of that, and then go to the DTC channel and just replicate that out to that audience conversation? Wouldn't I be able to have that audience conversation faster? I believe the answer is yes, from my own experience.
Yeah, interesting. So when you do this, you capture the email. Do you ever drive them back to your own site, or are you always driving them back to your Amazon?
So with the email, we drive them back to Amazon, right? Yeah. Because first channel is organic sales and traffic. So there's an idea that there is, let's be honest, more traffic, as we just said earlier, off Amazon. It's 38% or 39% market share. However, with 38, 39% of market share, if you're not doing in the top ends of the top 100 positions in the top 6 categories of Amazon, 1,000 units a day, okay, then you still have 1,000 units a day worth of opportunity. You haven't unlocked it yet.
Yeah.
So a lot of people say, well, I need to go to another Amazon marketplace. I need to open DTC. I need to do all these things. And I say, do not go off Amazon until you are 7 figures, okay, with a minimum of 15% net profit, and then open your additional channels, because at that point, you're just starting to tick off market share for the top competitors, top brands, top market places inside of Amazon. You haven't literally unlocked it yet. Are you doing 100, 200, 500,000 units a day? No, you haven't unlocked the top spots yet. You aren't even taking up enough market share yet. Keep working the process until you get to that point where you are now taking over that market share. So people seem to have this limiting belief that if they can't seem to figure out Amazon, there's no market, no traffic, no sales. And that's actually not true. Right? I mean, I know brands in there that are doing 500 to 1,000 units a day. And in the certain areas in which I know they're doing that, they're not meeting the 4,000 or 5,000 a day that competitors are doing.
Right.
So they're not even they're not unlocked yet. So what should they be doing? Focus. The same thing I've been doing for 10 plus years.
Just keep growing that.
Keep working on that focus. Take profits. Hire somebody like Derek or whoever does this in your network. I know who I go to in my network, but make sure you hire somebody to open that DTC channel and basically just give them a media kit. Price, product, brand, segmentation, video, marketing, audience, conversation, topic, everything. You just hand it all over and say, look, if you're any good at this, then in the next 30, 60, 90 days, there's no reason why you can't start a customer acquisition channel in DTC with everything I just gave you.
Sure. 100%.
Yeah.
So when you talk about profit margin, what kind of margins are you expecting?
So everybody wants to talk percentages, which I think is just a bunch of marketing malarkey, because all it does is like, well, I have 80% gross margin. Well, how much does it cost you? Yeah. Well, I make $3 million a year. How much did you spend? Right. I really only care what people keep.
Yes. 100%.
So my keep, for net profit is a minimum of $10 to $12 in profit per unit that I put in my pocket every time a unit sells on Amazon. So what does that mean? It means that all the other costs to be absorbed, landed cost of goods, product marketing, manufacturing, shrinkage, returns, warehousing, anything else in the upstream of the product movement from manufacturer to onshore to one unit sold to a customer is taken care of. And then I'm taking home $10 to $12.
Okay, so when you're looking at new products and opportunities, it doesn't really matter what the price point is, as long as you can keep that $10 to $12 a unit.
Not as much, but I will give you a range. We usually go within 50 to 125, mid-tier, what I call tier 2.
Yep.
Tier 2 is usually 125 to 300 or more. That's tier 3 on Amazon. So you look at tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. What Amazon sellers will typically do, or even DTC sellers, is they think they got to move more volume because that's the answer to the success equation. And it's actually not. It's move more profit. It doesn't matter that you moved 1,000 units this month. and made $1 in profit per unit. I may have moved 250 units this month and made
Yeah.
$12 in profit per unit.
Yeah.
Who's actually winning, you or me?
Yeah.
Right. So people get these all inverted, and I want to change that narrative. I want them to understand if you're not taking home profit, you don't grow, you don't scale, you don't have ads traffic. And I've included 15% average in cost, average cost of sale for every unit that's moving through Amazon's PPC campaign in my figures, where I'm still ending up with $10. Now, what can I do? I can go in and acquire other people's customers in Amazon. I can target them, buy, and spend more than they can for established sellers who are already in the market. For my innovations and higher price point and my marketing solution, I can actually spend more. And then I can raise my prices because I don't discount, right?
Okay.
The only variable of discount we use on Amazon is a pricing check to determine whether or not with the algo we're missing and not quite in Amazon's, what I call Amazon's slipstream. Okay, we would know it in like you're riding the river of Amazon, right? And there's a current, and every river has a current. Everybody wants to be in the current, but they don't know how to get there. But in the current is where you basically turn on Amazon's optimization. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not a particular terminology. You can't look into their things, but I know this exists. And I know it exists because we've hit it multiple times before. And when you hit that, it's like you can go vertical like an F-16 or F-35 going straight into the stratosphere. You can go faster than you can handle.
Sure.
So there are limitations and opportunities to get there, but it's literally a number of metrics and combination and data points that the AI, which is just a big AI, okay, formerly known as A9, it's like A10 now because it's got a bunch of updates.
Yeah.
But this thing has been working on billions and billions and billions of data points for a long time and is extremely dialed in, and it wants to know that you have the better product data.
Yeah.
Okay, when you go to market to compete. So I'm just going to go with the best data. And then what happens is I got to have a great product to support that, or the whole ecosystem collapses behind it. Amazon's dangerous in that way. It's dangerous if you don't have a great product that doesn't truly innovate. It isn't just some piece of Chinese crap Me Too product, because then not only will the seller feedback and reviews destroy you, but you will basically not have a longevity to the business. It just won't exist. So you got to create a great product. You got to create that iPhone experience. You can't create. So the whole loop comes back around to, data and product. And when you lock those two things in, you get into what I call Amazon slipstream. And at that point, traffic vertical can go extremely fast. I've seen it go in a matter of 30, 60, 90 days to 1 million a month. And then from there, we've got case studies of it going up to 5 million a month in less than 12 months. So you can go vertical on these brands, and it's organic.
Yeah.
Right. And we balance the measure of PPC to organic, which a lot of DTC consumers cannot do because we have a search engine, right? We have access to that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And with that PPC engine comes the ability to balance organic with search. So if I'm buying at a certain level of ACost, or what's called TACOS, your TA cost, total advertising cost of sales, and I'm actually managing at that metric, by the way, then if you're locked into ACost at 30%, but I'm willing to spend 200% because I know when I do that, my organic ranking is going to go this way.
Yeah.
And eventually that pendulum is going to swing over here to 80% organic traffic and 20% PPC. Like
And
there's
that-
a metrical thing the AI is doing that you've got to follow through the process. And when you see that thing turn, okay, you're opening Amazon's full distribution.
Sure.
And people don't understand. It's a bunch of servers with AIs, and they're all talking to each other.
Yeah.
And as your data gets better, it starts propagating you across more traffic, more centers, more opportunities, more keywords, more page ones.
Sure.
And that thing can go extremely fast when you do it right.
So you've got to give it its initial momentum, spend some money on the ads,
100%.
and effectively train their algorithm.
Train the algorithm against your data for existing customers in the marketplace, which is very different in some ways when you think about it, because it is forward-facing data, and we can go out and compile that data, the most important metrics, not the crap you see across the internet with all the amateurs, but the really important metrics that actually have revenue-generating impacts, and then you buy against that. Right. We refer to it as a strategy from a long time ago called rob the train. We're going to go in and literally rob the train. We know the train's moving. We know it's going 60 miles an hour. We know there's a bunch of things on there we can sell. We're going to rob that train, and we're going to go in and just start buying all that customer data until the algorithm is like, you look amazing.
Yeah.
And once it starts to say you look amazing, things can go extremely fast. So we don't have that product problem. We used to have that a long time ago.
Yeah.
We spent basically an entire decade between software and methodology trying to solve what the hell do I sell equation. So we've gotten really good at that now. Now it's a matter of market share, time in market, and acquiring that customer past 6, 12, 24 months with specific metrics so that you're going to hit some real growth metrics between 24 and 36 months.
So okay, now let's talk a little bit about your pricing strategy because
Sure.
Amazon has this reputation as it's the discount shop, right? Like
Correct.
everybody's competing on price.
Right.
But what I'm hearing is that that's not
Well, everybody is
you're not.
competing on price,
Yeah,
but we're not all locked into the same restrictions. So if you're a wholesaler, FBA is a little different. Private label, obviously, is the way you sell your own products and brands and register them and trademark. But then there's wholesaling and retail and online arbitrage and this other stuff where you're jumping on someone else's listing. Okay.
yeah,
And you got
yeah,
to kind of do the product pricing and change that up and make sure you win what's called the buy box and this kind
yep,
of stuff.
yep,
So we own 99% of our buy boxes, right? So
yep.
we control the buy box. The method is there's no other price points that require certain areas within Amazon to stay within a minimum advertising priced metric for competitive reasons or a map.
Yeah.
And we can avoid those by choosing the right products in the right categories. Then we're free to challenge the market's current perception of price point and value and then start raising it or shifting and controlling it, forcing the other sellers to go along with us.
Okay, when you say forcing, how are you forcing the other sellers
Well,
to go
okay,
up?
so you've ever owned a pair of Air Jordans?
Yeah, well, no, but
Okay.
my kid has.
Okay, well, how much are they priced differently than the equally just as probably good to some degree
Mhm.
Asics, Reebok, or any other brand, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, Jordan's forced the market for the basketball shoe forward into price points that were considerably greater than any other price points with shoes before. It forced companies like Reebok to change their pricing strategy and direction as well in order
yeah.
to be in a considered affinity level price point to maintain that competition. We can go across many examples in the marketplace of this, right?
Yeah,
Okay. So I can see where Target's raised certain affinities to brands just, below Pottery Barn or whatever, but you
Mhm.
don't have the Walmart. So in this way, if you become the leader of that brand and segment and you start to raise the prices, the other competitors that are watching you in that marketplace have no choice but to realize that they're discounting to some degree or are forced to discount for certain measures, but are not necessarily required. They just don't know they can.
yeah, yeah.
So we're always testing to go up with brand of frenzy,
Fascinating.
not go down.
So, I mean, that's very counterintuitive to how most people think about pricing. Most people are, thinking
Which
about
It's
it's
probably
always
why
a
they don't
race to
stay
the
running
bottom.
for 3 years and don't make any money.
Exactly, right? And it becomes a race to the bottom, and nobody makes any money, right?
And if you do certain products below $50 or $30 on Amazon, you're already a victim of that market circumstance.
Yeah.
So we don't sell products like that, right? We don't sell $20 products and stuff unless it's a strategy. That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
I won't make it first product. I won't take clients to first product at that level.
Yeah.
I go to products where price point meets solution, right?
Gotcha.
Problem, reaction, and solution. Someone's coming there with a problem, whether it's perceived, actual, or intended, they are coming to that. Their reaction has been to go look, search, have a they may have bounced off your site before they came in. And then the solution is the product on Amazon that they believe will ultimately create the solution in their mind to run faster, jump higher, lose weight, gain weight, whatever the outcome is. So our products are very much aligned towards solution oriented.
Right.
They're not as easy to replicate. There are higher barriers of entry. Chinese manufacturers and hackers and the Korean mafia out of Texas and other locations won't come in and start jacking with your brands. I don't want to myself. And messing with things that are easy to replicate and basically validating you out of the market. You go in, you'll see this great product, you created an innovation, but because of where it's placed, price point and perception wise, a manufacturer can come in and replicate it 20 times and do that in like 30 to 60 days where you can't even match that.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's flooding the market and your price points are going down.
Yeah.
And I see this on seller forums in Amazon. I see it in people complaining on the web. I hear it when people come through courses and programs and are like, oh my God, I'm going to play all this stuff and all the products going down and whine.
Yeah.
They're not treating it like a business. They're treating it like a side hustle or a hobby. And because of that, they're not actually focused on the business metrics and the fundamentals of the business. They don't even understand them. And like you said, it's sort of counterintuitive to the narrative because they're not running a business.
Yeah.
If you run a business, what I'm saying to you shouldn't be too big of a surprise.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So a little shift of gears here.
Sure.
Let's talk private label products. Sourcing products, getting products. I mean, that's tough. I see.
Oh, it's a challenge. No doubt.
Yeah. Like, again, I hear it all the time. I mean, supply chain issues aside from the last couple of years, pulling quality stuff out, building relationships with manufacturers, getting them to turn around product. I mean, how do you handle that when you hit the slipstream and all of a sudden your inventory is gone?
So you should be projecting that is even a possibility because you are projecting a business growth situation and forecasting it. You're not projecting just get first product, get first need, get first thing going. So when you speak from a different perspective, you're taking out the limited, mindset aspect of this, and you're putting in more of an abundance thinking. So out of the gate, I'm looking for not just the first manufacturer, but their ability to move. When you ask for a PI, how fast can they go? If you order for 4,000, 5,000 units on the next ship or 10,000 units, you have multiple redundancies of suppliers in order to ensure continuity of product and movement of product at different times on board.
Yeah.
And COVID jacked that up big time. I mean, products would take 8 months to get moved here. Okay. That was a terrible time for a lot of people because they simply didn't plan business and logistics. And I happen to be around a genius who's my business partner, Reed, who's been involved, as I mentioned earlier on at the very beginning with this thing, with the brain, the logistics, and the technical aspects. And he has been extremely good at not only managing the brands we have and the ones he oversees along with our clients, and making sure product movement went great. And we were ones who stayed in product when a lot of people fell out of product. I'm bragging on him, by the way.
Yeah.
So because of that, it's become a lot easier. In the last 18 months, the price points of 40-foot containers have gone from 24,000 down to 2,000. So that's been huge. Price point movements of products and shipping and logistics is actually a demand problem, not a supply problem, not as much as a logistics and shipping problem.
Yeah.
So product can still get here on the fast boats and from 2 weeks from China or 2 to 3 weeks over there. In some cases, air freight for us. Yeah. For our test 100 units, 300 units, 500 unit products are getting here cheaper and faster on air than they are on ship.
Sure.
So the whole logistics industry is really like 18 months to some very dramatic changes post-COVID, right? And so that's created opportunity for faster moving products. We can test market, we can move test market in 90 days or less. We can validate test market quickly within the next 90 days and then work to scale through those redundancies. So again, it's thinking forward on what needs to be done and putting those things in place so when they occur, you're not behind the 8 ball. So the real problem is not how to show you to do that and make sure you understand it. The real problem is to fund it when it comes.
Sure.
So that's where the real people tend to struggle in the business growth. And that's why I always ask for people to have enough capital, like 50 to 100K if they're going to go to market. Yeah. Year one minimum, setting aside in liquidity, which by the way, if it's in the bank, this might be a great way to do that now. Get it out and put it in some physical assets, worth 5 to 10 times. I'm buying inventory, which is a taxable depreciating event. Yeah. It has a opportunity for tax. I'm not going to say manipulation. That's a bad word, but avoidance. There's legalities. Yeah. Let's go past that. And so going through that aspect and obviously understanding I have a tangible, asset in my hands. Okay. That is not just sitting in cash in the bank, could be the same way as saying, well, I want to buy some real estate or I want to go get some gun, bullets, gold, silver, whatever else I want to turn it into. I've got an asset. An asset's worth money. And as I mentioned, in recession-proof businesses, if you look in the histories of histories, if you look at the failure in Brazil, if you look at Venezuela's collapse, if you look at the other countries, Argentina, et cetera, they will tell you then what you will see is those who had products and could move services and products were the ones that were able to maintain their houses and homes, et cetera, during those timeframes. But taking that and putting it in there and then running it out to the market is where we're, staying focused on. And I totally just train wrecked. There was one more point I wanted to make on there and I lost it. But I was thinking often to those countries and I was thinking about the guy my partner told me about who gave us this case study personally firsthand because he lived through that fall and explained what he did differently and why he did it differently. And one of the major things was he owned a product chain. And so the movement of products, redundancy, and business growth is an important thing to consider right from the very beginning and being able to get those products selected so you don't run into those supply chain problems. And right now, pricing is better. Products are moving faster.
It's cleaning up. It's getting better.
But it is a barrier of entry. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
Because drop shipping sounds sexy and so forth and all this other stuff. And it does to some degree. And you can do it at the beginning gate. If you're going to test, just move to a brand very quickly.
Yeah. Look, I've never been a proponent of drop shipping. It just, there's too many ways it can go wrong and reputation, right?
Yeah. It's opportunistic.
It's just terrible. So, amazing. Dude, as we wrap up here, that was fantastic. I actually took notes here. Anybody that's listening to this, if you're not using Amazon, this was gold. Neil, thank you. And pleasure. Before we wrap up, where can people connect with you, find out more, learn from you?
Yeah. I've got a free podcast training that goes over, it's about 45 minutes, but it will tell you the business, the model, what we call our as seen on TV model of going to Amazon now. where you can see the products. If you're selling or want to get selling, if you're already in business, you want to get the spillover, talk about how we can do that very quickly. If you're wanting to get started in a model, transfer, fiat currency and stuff into something tangible asset wise, or just diversify, voltagedm.com. You can go check it out, voltagedmdigitalmarketing.com. Free training on there. I encourage you to check it out. Reach out to me personally. I answer every phone call and every text message myself, and I will talk with you personally and see if what we're doing might work for you. If not, that's okay too.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Neil.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on, Derek.
All right, everybody. That was just packed with amazing stuff. Actually, that was probably one of the best Amazon interviews I've ever done, because this was not just high level stuff. So again, if this is going to work for you, you actually got to apply that final essential ingredient, which is action, and do something with it. And as always, if you like what you heard, please leave us a rating and a review. And this episode is a wrap. I'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to the eCommerce Expert Podcast. If you liked what you heard, make sure to give us a virtual high five by rating, reviewing, and subscribing to the show on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to check out our website at ecommerceexpert.com for show notes and bonus materials. See you in the next episode.